CEO and owner of Cena Hospitality. We're a hotel development and management company.
Okay.
And that's kind of my life, for the last 10, 12 years. So in the early days, I didn't pay myself.
Okay.
So
What does that mean? No income or
no income. So like when I was building the hotels, I didn't pay myself. I didn't pay myself until the hotel opened. I don't know why people drive Mercedes C-Class. It is like the worst ride ever. You can get a Honda and it'd be a better ride than that.
like my faith? I have faith, and I place that faith in the Bible and Christianity. That's an important thing to me. Do you have something higher than yourself that you put faith into?
I mean, we're Hindu, right?
Okay.
So Hinduism.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ravi Patel.
How you doing?
Good, man. Welcome to the garage.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. It's kind of a nasty day, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but it's like shower intermittent, so it's not too bad.
You came in at a time where it was not coming down, so you timed it well, or the weather gods are on your side. I don't know which one it is.
My phone told me when to leave.
Just sitting out in the car. What time? Yeah, you are 20 minutes early, so maybe you caught it right. How's your Tuesday? Wednesday?
Yeah.
How's your Wednesday going? So let me throw myself out there. It's been a little while since I've done this. It's been a whirlwind of a week. I was cutting the grass before you came over here, and then it started dumping on me. So I'm partially sweaty, partially wet with rain. So forgive me for being a little bit all over the place.
Oh, it's
How
all
are you?
Good. Yeah.
Good Wednesday?
Good Wednesday. Early Wednesday, as most Wednesdays are.
Yeah? What does
But-
early Wednesday mean?
Just early meeting, 8 a.m. Not
We
really.
did start it
Yeah.
early. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that begs the question. So, actually, before we get too deep into it, just for the small audience that we've got, I want to know a little bit about I want them to know who you are, what you do. So if you were to give me an abridged version of Ravi, what's your middle name?
Anil.
O'Neill?
Anil. A-N-I-L.
Anil. Okay. If you were to give me an abridged version of Ravi Anil Patel, then who are you?
CEO and owner of Cena Hospitality. We're a hotel development and management company.
Okay.
And that's kind of my life, for the last 10, 12 years.
10 to
Just
12 years
real
of
estate
hotel
development.
ownership.
Yeah.
Real estate development.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, if I were to put that into the dummy version for us folks that aren't as sharp, it's a hotel owner. Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. And roughly, how many do you own? Or the exact figure? I'm sure you know. Maybe you don't. Like, I lose track of how many hotels I own.
38.
38. Okay. And that's not necessarily just in Virginia.
Correct.
That's spread out. Is it up and down the East Coast? Are you East and West? Or
East and West. Yeah. We
Okay.
don't go as far as California, but Missouri is about the farthest we go west.
Okay. And so where were you, just a very brief background of, so that's who you have been for the past 10 to 12 years. Before that, who and what were you?
I was an IT nerd, so I went to VCU for IT.
Okay. You
I
did go
worked-
to VCU.
Yeah, I worked at a bunch of different places in Richmond and Atlanta as well.
Okay.
And IT was pretty cool because you could just wear a t-shirt and shorts and show up. You'd never see anybody in the front of the office. You're always in the back.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and we had a good time, dude. We had Fridays would be like snack day, and then we play like games with Nerf guns and stuff, and it was just fun. So it
Kind of sounds like
yeah.
a movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember which movie it was, but there was there were game developers, and
Yeah.
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And they were all nerds in the back of the office, and they were like, that sounds fun.
Yeah, they would play games at lunchtime. We had a slide at one of our places. We would go
Nice.
down the slide. Life was different back in IT.
Better, worse, different.
I would say different.
Okay.
Definitely less responsibility, more fun. But I was also at a different place in my life. I was a lot younger.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, 10 to 12 years is a long time for things to change.
yeah.
With more responsibility with great power comes great responsibility. And so you said it was more fun, less responsibility. And so when you add on to that, that doesn't necessarily mean more fun, I
No.
mean, like, responsibility doesn't equal fun,
No.
It's almost the exact opposite, actually. But man's got to do what a man's got to do.
Right.
So you went to VCU. Did you go to high school around here?
Yeah, I went to Thomas Dale,
Thomas Dale. Okay, so you were like, where were you born?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Oh, well, and you're going back to your roots tomorrow.
Yeah.
And why are you going to Cincinnati tomorrow?
Just going to look at a hotel, see if it makes sense to buy.
38's not enough. Let's add. Let's keep adding more to it. And you're gonna fly. So, born in Cincinnati, is that why you are honing in on that area to purchase another hotel? Or is it just coincidence?
Yeah, just coincidence. Happens to be at a good price point.
Okay.
So.
And what's a good price point for a hotel?
It really depends on the revenue. You want
What
to try
it's
to be
generating.
like 3 to 4 times revenue. So if you're somewhere in that ballpark, it's a good price point.
So you want a hotel to be a fair price for a hotel is 3 to 4 times what it generates. So if a hotel generates 2 million a year, 3 to 4 times 6 to 8 million for a hotel. So what you described as the hotel you're going to go look at is not a fair deal. It's a good deal.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll jump all over it, man.
Yep.
If you need someone to manage that hotel or be your advisor, I got you. Just
Nice.
yeah.
I like it.
You can trust me. I've dealt with millions plenty of times before. That's very cool. So, I mean, I imagine, is there a lot of responsibility riding on your shoulders? I mean, do you feel pressure? You always seem laid back. Is that just a farce? You're a really like nasty guy underneath the surface.
It's definitely a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So because you're responsible for your entire workforce, which for us is over 3,000 people.
And that's a lot of weight. I can't even imagine.
Yep. Because it's not. You think about COVID, and all these hotel companies laid off people during COVID. We didn't, but that was a conscious decision because, like, when it happened, it was March, and we thought that it was gonna go away. And then what ended up happening is it got worse. And then people are like, we need to start trimming staff. We need to figure out, how to make these things work. And I'm like, I can't do that because I was on the other side in IT. Like, I got laid off from my job, and it didn't feel good.
You've seen what that does.
Yeah, because I worked. They did it on a Friday, and I worked the whole Friday, and then they did it, and I'm like, dude, this is not cool.
Yeah, y'all just use me to the maximum ability.
I'm like, I can't do that to people. It's just, you got to figure it out. And did we lose money? Yeah, but I mean, everybody did. We're not the only ones.
Well, now we've I think bounced back, or we're outside of COVID. You haven't let anybody go, so you didn't put anybody through hardship that that destroyed them. Or, I mean, that's a good way of going about it.
Because it's scary. I mean, that's how Cena Hospitality started, because somebody got laid off of their job.
Was it you?
Yeah.
So okay, that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And what I've just mentally processed in my mind is that it's about to start raining again.
That's okay.
I've just shut the dog outside with nowhere to go.
Go get the dog.
Let me go put her inside.
Go ahead.
And then Dominic, cut this out if you want, please. We're back. Dom, you can cut us back in. Sorry for cutting you off like that.
That's all right.
Okay. Let me ask you. So I'm like morbidly curious about hotel ownership. And you said, so like Cena Hospitality started because you got laid off. But so the beginning of Cena Hospitality wasn't necessarily when hotel ownership started in your family. It had started before that. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
So like tell me like how did owning when was hotel number 1? I mean 38's a lot. That's got to take 97.
Yeah.
Okay. I was 5. And how did that first one become yours or acquired?
So my dad was an engineer with General Electric. Okay. And back in the 90s, if you wanted to keep growing with General Electric, you had to move. So you had to uproot your family like every 5 years. So we were in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And my dad was like, okay, I can either move to San Francisco or I can move. It was San Francisco and somewhere else. I think it might have been Denver. That was the next stop.
I mean, both pretty nice spots.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Or he was like, I could just come to Richmond and build a hotel, because we had family here in Richmond. So like they would do it, as a partnership.
But hold on, the average Joe doesn't say like, I'm gonna go build a hotel. Like, was he?
Well, so we have to go back a little bit to
Okay.
the early 80s. So when my family came here, they came from India.
Yep.
And so my grandfather had a motel in Alabama. So
Alabama.
yeah, so
Okay.
like my dad and my uncle and all these guys, they knew about hospitality because they were in the motel business. They weren't.
Oh, it was a
Yeah, it was
motel.
like a 20-room motel. And then
Okay.
what happened was they went to school, they got educated. Motel was kind of secondary because they were professionals, right? Working as engineers.
I see.
So then after a while, they were like, this isn't really like doing anything, right? We continue to move to get a little bit of a better pay to advance, but we're not really like moving up the corporate ladder.
You're talking about the corporate world. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And because I mean, the 90s was, 80s, 90s, those were good times for most people in
Mm-hmm.
corporate America. So they decided, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to build a hotel. So they come to Richmond and they say, okay, we're going to build this hotel as a microtel. It was in Chester.
It was a what?
Microtel.
Microtel.
Yeah, it was in Chester. And 72 rooms. Took them a year to build it.
It's a lot. It's a big hotel.
Yeah, it's a big
Bigger
hotel.
than a 20-room motel.
Yep, and we lived there.
And your uncle was part of this.
Yep.
So your uncle and your father, so your uncle and his brother, your dad,
Yep.
both went in together to build. And your uncle had experience.
Nope.
But what about he had experience with the motel?
Yeah, but never building anything.
Okay,
That was the first
alright.
time. Yeah. And so,
And you lived there.
yeah, we lived there. We
This
lived
seems
there
like a movie, you know? Like,
from, it opened in 99 and we left there in 2004.
99, 2004. So lived there for 5 years. And all right, so who builds hotels? You just hire a contractor who's been there and done that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. And then how hotel is built, you're living inside of it. As uncle, and your father, were you born you were living there?
I was born in Cincinnati.
You were born in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So before, I'm trying to get timelines. So when this hotel was built and 99 to 2004, were you living in that hotel as well?
Yep.
As a child or
Yep.
as a young man? And so what was your role?
I was just a child.
That was my role. That was easiest role
I was
ever
just
had.
there.
Yeah, you and everybody else doing things for you. But you grew up at least for 5 years in a hotel that family had built and owned and was trying to. And so then 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, 97 to 2008. Yeah, 2008.
Okay.
They grow to 8 hotels between Virginia and Kentucky. Because
Pretty good growth.
my dad's brother was in Alabama, and he moved to Kentucky. He moved to Louisville, and they built a hotel in
Good
Louisville.
place for hotels. I mean,
Yeah.
it's popular. Okay. Yeah.
Because back in the 90s, like during that 90s, like early 2000s, Louisville was still developing. It wasn't as big as it is today.
Interesting.
So
Let's get in while we can.
Yeah.
While it's
so they had 8 hotels, and then obviously the economy crashes, or not crashes, but it gets bad.
Yeah.
So
With 2008.
yeah,
I mean, some would say it crashed, right?
Yeah.
Did it not crash?
I mean, I don't know. I guess you could. It depends how you look at it.
Yeah, it
but-
depends on how many millions you have in the bank. For us normal folk, it crashed.
Yeah, exactly. So then they don't do anything. So from 2008 to 2013, they're like, we're just going to keep what we have. Now, Cena Hospitality wasn't formed because back then people didn't have companies. They just had, I have X amount of hotels, I'm so and so, and that's it. There was no branding, none of that stuff.
Interesting.
It wasn't a thing because you didn't need it.
Okay.
So then 2012 comes around. So I'm at VCU and I graduate, but I had been working. So I was working as an intern at a staffing company. I worked at an IT company here in Richmond. So I did all these things, and then I got laid off. And I was like, okay. But I had been working on the side in the hotels too. So like I would pick up shifts or do like serve breakfast or whatever, laundry.
Man, you were
knew
scooping out the latrines.
Yeah. So I knew what was going on, but now I was in the driver's seat because I'm like, okay, I don't have a job. And this all happened in 2014 is when it really kind of took off. And I have a job. I wasn't married. I was
Prime time.
engaged.
Yeah.
I was engaged when I lost my job, but I wasn't married.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that was scary.
She stuck with you.
I don't know why.
Good for her, man.
And then after that, we said, okay, let's build a hotel. We don't know if it's gonna work, but let's just try it. And my dad was like, you're gonna build one hotel, and that's it. You're gonna run that hotel, and that's
Get your
gonna
feet
kind of
wet.
be what your thing is. Like, where you're not gonna build 3, 4 hotels every 2, 3 years. That's not how this works. Okay.
Why not? He wants you to understand how to do one before you.
So times were different back then. See, like when you had economy style hotels, you weren't growing at the scale that like somebody would if they had like a upper scale hotel.
Those grow faster.
Yeah, because there's not enough profit margin. And they had always been in the economy segment. And so to them it was like you build a hotel, you run it, you do whatever you can and hope that you can build the next one like 2 or 3 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Because even the refinance game wasn't like it is now. You know, in the 90s, when you refinance something, you weren't getting like millions of dollars out of it
Right.
to build something else. It didn't work that way. But you got more money from a bank when you wanted to build a hotel. So it's kind of a trade off,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? So then we built our first Marriott, which is our first hotel under Sienna Hospitality.
Under Cena. Okay.
And the thing is wildly successful. And we're like, this wasn't supposed to happen. So what do we do now? Because it's either you keep on getting the money from the hotel and you pay taxes, or you reinvest that money and pay less taxes over time.
Doesn't make sense to do the former. You don't want to
Yeah.
be paying taxes.
Yeah.
I mean,
So then we just keep building hotels. And that's kind of how.
but that's not what
You
Dad
know.
said. I mean, you can't. But I mean, I'm sure he saw like this is what makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Once a hotel gets to a certain point, I guess.
Yeah, because it was like you can take the money and put it in your bank account, but the government's going to tax you anyway because you're in a different tax bracket now because you're making millions of dollars. So like what, so it just all of those things kind of snowballed and it was like, well, they're giving out franchises and they like what we're doing, so just go and just kind of grow and go from there. And the growth has been a lot. When you think about those timelines, that's not because of the original 8. We only have like 4 of those hotels.
Does the Alabama motel, is that still part of the family?
I think it's a Publix now.
Really?
Yeah, they
Okay.
bulldozed it. I think it's a Publix.
So he sold it, and once you had, so is Cena Hospitality? Is the 38 belong to Cena, or okay? So we got Cena with 38. Is Dad still in the game?
Mm-hmm.
So the family, and I'm talking uncle, father, Ravi, Cena, all as a whole. How many?
38.
38. Okay. Because all of that is now Cena.
Yep.
I mean, it has become, okay. You've swallowed up the, I mean,
It was cool to build a brand.
I imagine.
There's a lot of people that are like, okay, well, how did you brand this? Because you were unbranded, like as a company, and then you became branded, but now like people know who you are in the hospitality industry. So I had a laptop from Best Buy. It was like a $700 laptop. And I just went on there and I made a logo. I got somebody on, I think Upwork was around back then. Got him to give me some templates for a business card. Like we did all this stuff like, freelance style. And we got it all up there, did it. And then like if you look at the original logo, it looks like a cartoon. It's really bad.
I think you've shown me. I don't remember exactly what it looks like.
So it got better, but
you had to start somewhere.
Yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then we didn't really do anything on social media. We didn't do interviews, none of that stuff. We just like kept our head down and said, we're just going to build. And then people started to be like, who are these guys from Richmond, Virginia? And why did they build 5 hotels in 4 years? Like what are these guys doing? Because there's bigger people that are like quadruple the size of us that didn't do that.
Huh.
And so people are starting to ask questions like, what is so special about you?
Well, and that's kind of what my question is. And you don't have to give me all your secrets, but like if it's 5 hotels in 4 years, but other larger companies were not doing this, what's the secret? I mean, why were they not taking advantage, or were they not aggressive enough?
So some, computer engineer, right? Dad's mechanical, uncle's electrical. So we have like an engineering mindset.
Yeah.
So we were able to go into markets where there were a lot of hotels and find like a small piece of land that somebody would look over and be like, that's not a hotel site.
Interesting.
And we would ask the question like, well, why? And part of it was, well, it doesn't have power to it. It doesn't have water to it. Okay, but those are things that you can
Fixable
overcome.
things. Yeah.
You might have to spend some money to fix it, but if the dirt is cheap, because in real estate, you buy low and you sell high. That's the age old thing, right?
Yep.
So it's the same thing in hotels. And we were able to get pieces of land, and people were like, okay. But then the hotels did really well too.
Right.
Like they didn't have like a mediocre performance. They were like knocking it out of the park.
Well, and that
Yeah.
also probably then speaks to, so I mean, it's like the investment market. Yeah, you make your money when you buy something, not when
Yep.
you sell it, and you need to buy it at the right time, or you won't make any money. But that what you just said, not only have you bought land at a low price, so it makes sense, but then you put a hotel on it and it does well.
Mm-hmm.
That speaks to running the business the right way,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's hiring the right people or setting the right atmosphere or creating the right culture. I mean, there's a million things that has to go right for a hotel to do well. I imagine if there's 4 things that go wrong, then the hotel doesn't operate the way that
Yeah.
it should. You
Well,
know?
and we also didn't have we didn't have a large team. We ran it very lean. So like
Smart.
when we're talking about building 5 hotels in 4 years, like we built them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You know, like
Like you had a hammer and you.
down to the nail of like ordering and stuff. That was us.
Jeez.
That we, from start to finish, we could tell you everything about, and even to this day, we still do that because like that's how you save money. The more
Right.
stuff you do yourself, you can teach somebody how to do it, but if they're not really invested in the business, they don't care at the end
And
of
it's
the
not
day.
going to get done the same way that
Yeah.
you want it done.
Yeah. So there's
Interesting.
a lot of efficiencies there because some people have figured it out and they're like, oh, he's doing a lot of work himself. Yeah, but at the same time, we don't have investors. The big companies have investors. Those 38 hotels, they're ours.
Yeah. They're not
You
partially
know.
owned by somebody else or. Um. So I don't like I get paid. I pay myself a salary, $42,000 a year, and I am ecstatic at that. And like I can't imagine the lifestyle difference that would come with um where you would are at with that stuff. And so like I feel like I'd be afraid. One, I would you and I'm sure you understand this, and I've learned this the hard way. Money, you can spend money real quick, a lot quicker than you can earn it. And so money goes quick. It doesn't go as far as you think it does. But I think that like if I had whatever a hotel owner makes, like I would be balling out. And like and maybe you like I've seen you got a couple of cars and like I think you got a fairly large home. So maybe you just ball out in a humble way. But like I mean you gotta be smart too. Have you ever flirted with that line?
So in the early days, I didn't pay myself.
Okay.
So
What does that mean? No income
no
or
income. So like when I was building the hotels, I didn't pay myself. I didn't pay myself until the hotel opened. So I didn't do anything on
I
construction.
see.
It was just like you own it, you're in it, get it open because that's what's
It's your
gonna pay
golden
you.
egg, yeah.
You know. Did I have a good family support system? Sure. They had income. I just didn't. Life was difficult in the beginning because like you are used to a certain lifestyle because you were in IT and you were making like 70, $80,000 a year, and now you go to zero, right?
Big difference.
And now you got to manage that expectation not only with yourself but your spouse, and your spouse has to understand that like, yeah, you own a hotel, but you're broke. Like, just let's just be real. You don't. All of your money is in this asset that you're looking at.
Right.
You want to go out to eat, like you're going to McDonald's. You want to go on a vacation, it's a road trip. That's kind of how things were,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
you,
it changed later on because people were like, you're crazy. You cannot sustain this lifestyle where you don't pay yourself. And I said, I get that, but I gotta get something to make something. It doesn't,
yeah.
you
Otherwise
know.
you're going in the hole.
Yeah.
I mean you're
So even like now, I don't take a big salary. I don't, because like all of the money that we make, I put it back into the business to grow. So like if we're going to look at a hotel to buy it and it's a few $1,000,000, people are like, crap, that's a lot of money. It is. But it never has gone in my bank account because I put it in a business bank account. So it's not like I'm holding it where I'm going to be like, oh, I got to give this person $2,000,000. I don't look at it that way.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
there's a YouTube video that I watched the other day, and it was this guy, and I think he's like one of the youngest billionaires on the planet, and might have even been a kid in his 20s, and it was like, well, and he was explaining things. It was like people think that being a billionaire, you have like this bank account sitting somewhere with all of this money in it, and you get to go use it whenever you want. But like being what in reality, I mean, it's not like that, and you've got like it's more on paper, or it's total net worth.
Yeah.
And which doesn't mean you can just go liquidate everything tomorrow,
Right.
you know? And so
Yeah.
it's not what people
Yeah.
think it is,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
But now, I mean, let me ask you, and if I'm asking questions that are too, I'm trying to not be too invasive, but I'm curious, and I'm not going to be the only one who's curious. I mean, like, how many cars do you have?
So as a family, we have 7 cars. As the ones that are mine, well, I gotta think about this. 3.
3 that are Ravi's, that are yours.
3 that are
When you
Ravi's.
say family, is that
Like my parents, my sister.
okay? Well,
Yeah.
then 7's a reasonable thing.
Yeah, yeah.
3, and I mean, these are fairly nice cars.
Yeah, they're newer. So one's 2018, one's 2021, and
Okay.
then one's 23.
Okay. So like, have you ever gotten to a spot where you're like, man, I really need to stop spending as much money as I have? Or have you always had enough discipline or been so used to a certain lifestyle where overspending wasn't really an issue?
Yeah, we don't really overspend. I mean, we don't take lavish vacations. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we drive nice car, but we spend 90% of the time in our car.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, in 2018, 2021, 2023, I mean, like, that's that you got to drive somewhere,
Yeah, I didn't need the 23 car.
You didn't. Was that a toy?
I could have gone without that one.
All right, well, unpack that for me. What is the 23?
Mercedes, it's a E450 coupe.
E450 coupe.
They don't even make that car anymore.
But it's a 23. Why
Yep.
did they stop making it?
Mercedes discontinued it. It made a lot of people upset. They took the E coupe and the C coupe, and they're like, we're gonna make a CLE. I don't know why people drive Mercedes C class. It is like the worst ride ever. You could get a Honda and it'd be a better ride than that. But yeah, it's they discontinued it. They made the car smaller. The finishes are all not, it's just
Interesting.
But
That's what you bought?
yeah,
The one you're describing?
yeah, the E class, yeah.
So you didn't, so like, what, did you think it was sweet? Why'd you buy it if you didn't? You wanted it.
So we had a good year, and I don't splurge, right? So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, let me go buy this car. But I went on Car Gurus and I kept looking because I'm like, I don't want to overpay for a car. Maybe I don't want a Mercedes. Maybe I want like something else. Like I was looking at like a Aston Martin.
I've driven in one of those.
Yeah. But the thing with Aston Martin is that it's like it breaks more easily. Like it doesn't last as long, right? Because it's not meant to.
Okay.
And so
That's shady. I don't like that.
yeah, so then your service on that thing, you have to drive like 2 hours to get it serviced because there's nobody here that can do it.
Good point.
And then where are you gonna drive it, right? Like you're not gonna go to the Food Lion,
Right,
with the
with
Aston
an Aston
Martin.
Martin.
You might if you're bold, right?
Yeah,
But-
you have to park at the 2 parking lots away.
So Mercedes is still like a very nice vehicle that you can drive most places. You don't really look out of place. Like it's a normal thing to see a Mercedes like on the street.
Yeah, and even a nice one,
Yeah. And so
It was a good daily driver. It was
Yeah.
a reasonable. Yeah.
so it's a weekend car. It's emerald green with peanut butter inside, which is not a very common color combination.
yeah. Yeah.
There was like one in the country
It's
in
almost
Billings,
kind of
Montana.
old school, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like, because like my granddad used to have a Cadillac. It was an emerald green exterior with this like kind of it seems like an old school
Yeah.
color and a
And
cool
it's fast.
way.
It's fast.
Really? How many, like V8 or what? What are we
It's a V6 turbocharged.
Okay.
You could go 90 in that thing and not realize it.
Yeah, man.
Not saying I've
Not
done
that.
that.
Smart. My I a long while back in previous life, I dated a girl and lived with her in Germany for a
Okay.
year.
Yeah.
And her father owned a local insurance company,
Uh-huh.
and they did fairly well for themselves. And like lived up on the house on the hill and had this amazing view. And his daily driver was an Aston Martin.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
and they have the I know, yeah, he dailied that thing.
Hmm.
And they have the Autobahn in Germany.
Yep.
And dude, you want to talk about
Fast.
fast?
Exactly. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it was one of those, like, I think he shifted it with buttons, like it had you could
Oh,
switch it
yeah.
into sport mode and to switch gears. You hit like the 3,
Like
you
a
know.
Bond car, man.
it was-
James Bond.
It
car.
was like that. Yeah, it was exactly like that. And man, that was maybe I should have stuck with her. Who knows? That's pretty cool. Yeah, when I splurge, I buy myself like a $100 Leatherman, like a multi-tool.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
when you splurge, you buy a Mercedes Benz that you don't really need. You know? That's kind of funny. So what do you do for? I know you got a wife, you got a kid, and so I mean that takes up, and plus you run the business that you run, takes up a lot of your time. What do you do for fun? You have a hobby?
I like to watch good movies.
Yeah.
You know, I like going to the car shows. But nowadays it's more about just spending time with my son. He's 2.
Okay.
Very active.
Probably like a sponge at that age.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, he probably wants to be with dad.
Yep, loves to read, you know, is starting to get conversational.
That's cool.
So-
Little personality.
Yeah. Yeah.
You saw it's a humble setup, but the TV in there, got a fairly large one behind the entertainment system is a subwoofer, and like when a spaceship flies overhead, like the whole house rattles. I love movies, and so I wanted the experience to be a cool one.
Yeah.
What do you have a cool setup at house for movies, or you
I've got what do I have? Like a 75-inch on the second floor. So
pretty
like
big?
when football season comes around, I just watch it on there. But
Yeah.
I don't have like surround sound or anything. It's the one thing we didn't build in our house.
You got a sound bar. Those
Yeah,
those are
that's
good.
pretty cool.
Yeah, they're good enough these days. Have you seen the new this is not a paid advertisement. Have you seen the new Horizon, the American Saga, Kevin Costner? It's his new it's a western. It's about
Okay.
the western movement,
Yeah.
and it's interesting. What's your genre if you had to pick for
I
movie?
like action.
You like comedy or action?
Co-
Okay.
comedy and action.
Comedy,
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite movie?
Oh man, there's so many.
I know it's a loaded question. It's hard to answer that.
I like the Italian Job. If you remember the
Oh
remake.
yeah, Jason Statham with the Mini
Yeah.
Coopers. Total, and Mark Wahlberg, wasn't
Yep,
it? Yeah.
yep. That's a cool movie.
That's a good movie.
Yep.
You know, that made me want a Mini Cooper. Those things were awesome.
Yep.
And they had the suspensions were equipped, ready to handle all that gold. and
Yep.
I remember that movie really well. Jason Statham, man, he's cranking out movies. Did you see
Transporter.
the Transporter was another driving one. He was just in the Beekeeper. I don't know if you
Okay.
saw it. Yeah, that was good. I don't know. Sometimes I think it's like Call of Duty video games. They're just cranking out movies just to crank them out. So what's for those that are more in the normal playing field? Do I emphasize that too much? How much higher above us common folk? No, but like do you invest? What would you advise someone who wants to get ahead or to manage their money wisely? Do you do stocks? Do you do Robinhood, crypto? Do you do anything on the side?
I do mutual funds.
Mutual funds.
Yeah. So I met a financial advisor a long time ago, and he was like, you can put money in the stock market. It's cool. You can do all this other stuff that people are doing, but mutual funds they're created in like high growth, moderate growth, and like low growth. And so you invest money in these funds knowing that you're going to get like a little bit of a return, but it's steady. It's never going to go up. It's never going to go like down. It's just going to be, pretty flat.
Gradual. Well, do you want flat? All right, I'm listening.
Yeah. And it might grow like 5%,
Okay.
but it's not going to grow like 25%.
And it's not going to drop
Right.
by 25%.
Yeah. And so it's the safest way that you can stick your money somewhere and have it grow so that by the time you want to retire, all of that incremental growth will amount to something when you are at that age.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people like to buy life insurance. I don't really understand why. You should never be a life insurance collector. You just have enough, but don't make it like a hobby of having like millions of dollars of life insurance. Now, if you own a big company with a lot of assets, that's different. But like a normal person doesn't need like $10 million of life.
I had a financial advisor talk me into it at one point, and I don't know if it was whole term life insurance, but it was basically described to me as sort of like a savings account, and you put away X amount of dollars each and every single month, and then eventually at some point in your life, you get to borrow from that if you need
Mm-hmm.
to.
Yeah,
And it accrue does it accrue interest or
it can, depending on how the plan is set up.
yeah. But then I pulled my money out of it because I was like, I really need this money
Yeah,
per month,
yeah.
and like it
And most
wasn't,
people do.
yeah, and so like that wasn't the best way for me to be spending my money at the time.
Yep.
It seemed like,
But
so,
it's just doing stuff like that. Some people have 401k.
yeah,
What most people don't realize is that when you sign up for a 401k plan and you're like in the plan, it doesn't grow. You can change the settings for how aggressive you want it to be, but you have to go and change the settings. I didn't realize that until like 3 years after I had a 401k, because I went in there and I'm like, it's grown like $200. Like, what is wrong with this thing? It's not working.
it's broken. Like, what?
Like this is not, and it was because it wasn't on aggressive growth. See, when you're younger, you can afford to take more
Be more
risks.
aggressive.
When
Yeah.
you're older, you want to pare it down and say, okay, now I need to be a little bit more steady.
Yeah.
So
So the 401k that you're talking about, is that something you had with a previous employer? That was the
yeah,
IT job.
yeah,
Okay. And you know what pains me, and people don't realize this. I didn't realize this either. It's not common knowledge. The stuff that I'm venting here for a second, but the stuff they teach us in high school and in college, it's not the stuff we need to be learning. Like
right,
in college, in high school, you come out of that and like you know nothing about credit, you know nothing about investing, you know nothing about like the stuff that you should know as
right,
an adult.
yeah,
And so I'm frustrated with that. But so like and what pains me is that people have 401ks, and if you leave a job that and you've paid 4, 5, 6 years into a 401k, that 401k is going to remain at that job, and it's unsupervised. It's just doing it's not working for you the way that it should be. And but what you can do, correct me if I'm wrong, is you can take that 401k and move all that money, whatever it is, because it's your money, you paid for it, and the company's matched whatever, so it's your money, and move it to either another 401k or move it to a financial advisor to where it's actively being managed and will grow versus die.
yeah.
I mean, and so did you move your 4 when you left that company? What'd you do with your 401k?
So I moved it. I moved it 2 times because I went from one company to another, and then from that company, when I got laid off, I took all of it and then put it with a financial advisor, and I had a lot of shares of Apple. So
Okay.
back when I brought Apple, it was $26 a share.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What's it at now? Thousands?
I think it's like two something, and then I think Facebook's at like almost 500 because I brought Facebook at 74.
74.
Yeah.
74.
So I had all these I had a chance to buy Tesla at 50 and I didn't do it. So in my feelings about that.
Yeah, that one that hurts. I'm sitting here doing the math on Apple. If you bought a 26 a share and you own 100 shares,
Yeah.
then now it's at $2,000 a share times 100. What is that? 2 million or 200,000? And I know you own more than 100. So
Yeah.
I'm listening.
I've got I think 220 some shares of Apple.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
But
would just look at the app on my phone every morning and be like, I'm good. Like life is good, you know?
I just keep reinvesting.
Yeah.
So I don't take dividends from that either, because when you roll it over, you have an option to take dividends when they pay out. I'm like, nope, put it all in there.
Right
So then it
back
keeps
into-
buying fractional shares.
So mutual funds is a good way to be going.
Yeah, mutual funds is a good way to be going. And I mean, there's just so many. You just have to be responsible with the money. I mean,
Live beneath your means.
yeah, and leverage the bank, right? That's what the bank is there for. They're lending money. The economy is tough. No question about that. But it doesn't mean banks aren't lending. They just have to. It depends on what you want to do.
And
Like
the
if you want to
terms
open a
and the
business, leverage the bank.
yeah.
Why would you pay 100% of your own equity for a business, right? When a bank will lend you like at least 70, 80%.
And people would say, well, yes, that's true. You get money, but you pay interest on that
Mm-hmm.
money. But so yes, the bank is making money on you.
Yeah,
But if you are making money, if everybody's making money, then you're
doesn't
good, you
matter.
know. So if you
Yeah.
get a loan and you spend it on something that generates income
Yep.
and you're able to go in the green, then like let the bank. I mean, so where's the downside,
Right.
really?
Yeah.
And see, that's what I watch more YouTube than I should. But that's what the upper, lower, middle, upper class does is they if they want to one they when they buy something they think about how much money is it going to make them in return.
Right.
And so I can't I'm not going to say this the right way, but there you got lower, middle, and upper. And I think like they say the lower class purchases to consume. Or like I'm gonna buy this and I'm gonna use it. And like I'm gonna consume this, whether not even necessarily food, but entertainment. But they purchase stuff that doesn't necessarily bring them money back. And then I think the middle class spends money on things that may have some return on their value, but not really that much. And then the upper class, when they purchase things, they buy stuff, and their sole thought is, how much money is this going to make me if I spend money on it? And I'm generalizing very much. Don't cancel me for any of that either. But I mean, you see what I'm saying? And also, if you're going to buy something, one, think about how much money it's going to make you in return. And then two, don't spend your own money to buy it. Spend somebody else's money,
Yeah.
aka the bank. You know? So that's something that I'm still trying to wrap my mind around is, like, so I've got X amount of dollars in the bank account. I don't want to lose that. I don't want that to go anywhere. And so if I want to go buy an investment property, well, there's a little bit of equity in the house. So maybe you do a line of credit on that equity. But you're not even suggesting using equity on assets. You're suggesting go straight to the bank and get a loan.
Yep. I had a guy one time call me, really wanted to build a hotel. And it was he had one economy hotel and he had a piece of land and he goes, I really want to build this hotel. I need to come up with $4 million. And the bank is telling me to put my house as a collateral. I said, so you have an economy hotel. Now you want to build a hotel. And you want to put all of your cards on the table,
personal,
including your home?
Right.
Is it really that important to you? Because I said, if it was me, I would tell you no. I would say wait or find somebody else that you can partner with, but there's no way.
You're putting all that on the line. Yeah.
No.
Because
I'm like, you've worked so hard for your home. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, there's an appreciation for having risk to be like, I want to do this and take that risk. But there's another way of just being stupid. And that's what this is.
Totally. When you're putting everything you own on the line, the roof over your head.
Because in the game of life, something always happens. It never goes perfect.
You cannot predict it.
If it did, we would all be in a much different place. It just doesn't work that way.
No. That's that's my one consolation. And so like that real estate, there's ups and downs. Sometimes you get paid, sometimes you don't. But like if I have a roof over my head and I can pay and you got all these unnecessary bills, Netflix and stuff, but like at its core, if you can pay for your house, if you got a roof over your head, then you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You'll always be able to go out there. You lose your job, the economy goes down. You're always going to be able to go out there and get another job. You can make it work, but you need that roof over your head.
Yeah, and I don't know what he did. I don't think he went through with it, but I'm like, this is just crazy.
Yeah, well, some people, man, if you're not living life on the edge, you're taking up too much room.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, and there's no right or wrong answer to this, and so like you know a little bit about me, and so like my faith, I have faith, and I place that faith in the Bible, Christianity. That's an important thing to me. Do you have something higher than yourself that you put faith into?
I mean, we're Hindu, right?
Okay.
So Hinduism.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that and admittedly, I'm ignorant on the subject of Hindu, is that something you practice?
Hmm.
Okay. What if you were to give me a really dummy version of what that is, how would you do it?
So Hinduism has many gods versus Christianity doesn't have as many.
Okay.
So like we have like god of like the sun or god of prosperity, like those types of things.
Would you call it polytheism versus
Hmm.
monotheism? Okay,
Yeah,
I'm listening.
yeah, but that's really all the difference is. It's all this, you know, religion is something that people don't like to talk about, but like from what I see, it's all pretty much the same concept. It's just presented to you in a different form, depending on like
Yeah.
what religion you're talking about. And that's really all I chalk up religion to be. It's it. We could sit here and have a conversation about Jesus or whatever, and at the end of the day,
Well, and here and um I'm not in a I don't want to force myself or my thoughts or my beliefs onto anybody else.
sure.
But what I'll tell you, what I do want is to understand and learn. And I think like and truthfully, I know really nothing about. You just taught me something I didn't know, and I think it's fascinating. And I think it creates interesting conversations. It doesn't have to be arguments. It doesn't have to be debates. It doesn't have to be I'm proving you wrong or right, or it doesn't have to be. Nothing has to change at the end of this. But I do think it's fascinating. So does Hinduism
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
do Hindus
yeah.
believe in, is there an afterlife?
Hmm.
And what does that look like?
So they believe in like reincarnation.
Okay.
So at
On
some
depending on
point,
how good or bad
yeah,
you were is what you.
yeah. So at some point you won't be here, but you'll come back as someone or something else.
And so if you lived a not good life, however you define that, then when you come back, it's lesser than you were. Is that
Yeah.
and like if you did a good life or good things, then you come back as like what's better than you were? How do you define the next life if you did good in the previous one? Are you more rich? Are you more good looking? Are you more healthy? Are you more like how do
I
you?
think it's all just perspective.
Okay.
Nobody really knows, right?
So maybe, and then in theory, you did pretty good in your previous life if this is where you're at now.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe, yeah. Um, does that cycle end?
No.
Okay, I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't ever want to do this again. Like, I like that this life is a gift, and I'm grateful for it. But like, one is enough for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets tiring.
It does get tiring. It's not easy. How did the universe begin, or is it eternal?
That's a good question. I think the Hindus believe that it began at a certain time,
Okay.
but it's not like eternal. But I mean, I don't know. I really want somebody to invent a time machine so I can see it myself. I want to see a dinosaur. I'm.
How cool would that be? Yeah. Um, eternal, a beginning. I'm processing. So Hindus believe. What do you believe?
I
We don't know.
I think that exactly. We don't know. I mean, I still don't like. You see all these things in a science book about how Earth came to be, right? And then like animals came, Adam and Eve came, right? It just there's a lot of stuff that I'm like something's not.
Hard to believe.
There's a missing piece somewhere,
Okay.
and that's why I need that time machine.
That'll give you your answers. All right. Well, the last thing, so like you take, I don't know if like I think Vikings are very cool, and I think that's an
Yeah.
interesting time in
Yep.
history. And what's fascinating to me actually, and we won't go too far down this path, but you had one of the most successful societies, the Romans,
Mm-hmm.
and they were one of the most advanced. I mean, the aqueducts, the things that the
Yep.
Romans did during that time were fascinating. And then you had the collapse of the Roman Empire, and then the period after that is like paganism and Vikings and some of the most barbaric And so you went from the most advanced cultural era to the most barbaric. It's crazy to me how history can do that.
Yep.
But so you have the Vikings who believed in multiple gods, polytheism, but I think, and the internet may correct me, but I think that they had a god of gods. That Odin was the top, and all came from him. Does Hinduism have a one creator that created all else? Yes. What would be the name of that, or who is that?
They just call him Bhagwan.
Say it again.
Bhagwan.
Bagua.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so like from that, then everything kind of stems down, depending on like where you are.
So there was one ultimate beginner,
yeah.
or that's very interesting. So like you have Islam and the Quran, Christianity and the Bible. Does Hinduism have a scripture or text?
Yeah, it's like multiple books, but
Okay.
yeah, they do have, different books.
I think that's very, very interesting. So I firmly believe that, and I say firmly, I mean I'm always open to being wrong because it happens every now and then. Rarely. I think that I very much believe in the Big Bang, and I think like a lot of scientists today would say that there's a lot of evidence to support the Big Bang. And I think a lot of like scientists and bright minds of today's society lean towards that being a very probable cause of the universe versus 50 years ago where there was a lot less, people, scientists saying, hey, this is a probable thing. So I personally, and I've tried to look at the research and all of the, like the universe, like let's take an example. The universe is moving, it's expanding outwards. And so if you have something that's moving out, it can't be moving out in every direction. It has to have a start, right?
Yeah.
So for something to be going in one direction, it has to have a direction that it started from.
Right.
And so if the universe is moving outward, that would suggest that it had a beginning point. And so that's just one thing that like suggests the Big Bang Theory coming out of nothing is I don't know. I think that sort of stuff is really. You ever think about that sort of thing?
There has to be another Earth somewhere. We can't be the only one.
Do you mean another like a parallel universe with another Earth, or another planet sustaining life?
Both.
You think there's alternate realities?
Like that movie. Oh God, which one was it? Oh man, I forget. Interstellar.
Yeah, I think that was that a different. I don't remember that one, to be honest with you.
He's in the library and he's like poking at the thing, and the daughter can hear him or something.
Oh, I do remember that. Movie. Yeah, you are a movie buff. I do think that the universe is so large and there's so much out there, galaxies and other suns, that the chances of us being the only piece of life out there's.
But we'll never know. It'll be discovered after we'll be long gone.
Well, what if some would say that there's already evidence of other life, and that it's starting to slip out of the government, or I mean, like, so you believe in aliens?
Yeah, I think they're
foreign beings.
And I see no reason why they wouldn't be out there.
Yeah,
I would really love to go to Mars if they can make it happen in my lifetime, just to see like what's going on up there.
You think there might be something going on Mars? What about the people that say, do you think we've been to the moon?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're not a conspiracy theorist to that extent, okay?
No.
I know some people who
I'm pretty sure that we've been to the moon.
Well, so what do you think? I mean, what are the chances that? So apparently, we always see the same side of the moon, like and like there's phases of the moon, but what we see is always the same part.
Okay.
And so there's question. Some would say like, well, what's on the other side of the moon, or like
yeah. I mean, that would make sense because if you're, circling.
And I think I don't know if it goes with us, but I think that, and I could be making myself look really dumb right now, but I think that the face of the moon that we see, we always see the same face. It's just the light that's shining on it versus the light that's not. So I don't know. Maybe there's like an alien colony on the other side.
Maybe they don't want us to see it.
Yeah, they don't want us to see it. Exactly. No, I don't know.
You have to run for president and win. That's the only way you're gonna really know.
You think they would? Yeah, that's probably true. Or we can just let Trump become president and he'll reveal
He'll
everything.
probably tell us. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's an honest
pretty
guy.
open book, man. Yeah. Do you think that? And I'm not a political person. I've got friends on all ends of the spectrum there, and like none of it's. To be honest with you, I think that like whoever becomes sits in that seat, like I'm still gonna go to work every day. I'm still gonna like really on a grand scale, nothing's gonna.
Your life doesn't change.
Not really. It doesn't seem like it.
Nope.
Maybe taxes are slightly different,
Yeah.
or maybe but my life seems to stay the same. So I'm not very political. Do you think Trump is going to win?
I think he has a decent chance,
Okay.
but it's tough because you've got Kamala Harris, who could potentially be the first woman president, kind of like how it was with Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And it looked like Hillary was going to win until all that stuff happened, like right before the election. And then she didn't. So, like, are they going to set Kamala up the same way? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But it's going to get dirty, man.
Do you think that the world, or I mean, I know this is a U.S. thing. Do you think they're, and I'm not taking a stance one way or another. Full disclosure. Do you think America is ready for a woman president?
I never thought that I would see a black president in my lifetime.
Okay.
And I never thought that I would see a woman, but I feel like America would be ready for a woman.
I think that I think things are moving in a direction to where there's a good chance we could see that happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Because they do it on TV. They've been doing it for years. It's like the subliminal messaging. Like on 24, right? You see the guy that is the president. He's a black president, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool, no problem. Then a few years later, the Obama, right? So then you
think they're prepping us?
I think they do it on purpose. It's all subliminal messaging because it's like, okay, we've got all these TV shows with women presidents. Some of them are white, some of them are black. Like, okay, maybe there'll be an Indian president in my lifetime. Who knows? Maybe it'll be me.
That I think actually, I don't mean to brush past that. I would love to have you as president. Could I be I'll be on your committee or something like that.
I've always thought about just running to see what will happen. Just to see. Like, could you do it? How far could you get? But it's such
What's the harm? Is it going to cost a little bit of money? Like, I mean,
it's just a stressful job. Like your whole life is in the public eye. You have no privacy.
Yeah.
And then because we have this two-party system, if your party is not the majority, how are you really going to govern? Like, what are you going to get done? I'm better off running my hotel company where I could actually get things done.
And you could probably make a change on a local scale.
Yeah.
That may get overlooked on such a
federal.
Yeah. But if the suggestion is out there that the media can, and they say that the future or where society goes sort of mirrors what the media, like for example, like 50 years ago, before it ever existed, they were predicting hover cars, or they were predicting like things.
Yeah, the Jetsons.
Exactly. And like when it was just this futuristic idea, and then they start creating these things, and like movies are talking about AI. AI is a perfect example.
Yep.
And like society goes the way that media suggests. And so but what you would be suggesting is that so if that's true, or like let's say that the media has been prepping us for a black president 10 years ago, and then by the way, it actually happened, then there has to be somebody or a group of somebodies at the tippy top pulling strings that we can't even, Illuminati, or I mean, do you believe in that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think there's a group of people somewhere that are controlling the media to predict certain outcomes. Now, who those people are, how they got into that position of power, why they're doing it, anybody's guess. But I do think that's,
So do you think there's a group of people, and however large, whoever it is, in a position where they would start pushing media to show this certain thing, whatever that thing is,
Yeah.
woman president, black president, and then there are also so they're powerful enough to pull the strings in the media to do that, but then even more so powerful enough to 5-10 years down the road actually influence who becomes president.
Yeah.
That's a
Absolutely.
powerful group.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows who they are, but they're out there.
I don't disagree with that, and that's sort of scary and hard to wrap your mind around too.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say at least a healthy portion of their power has to come from money. I mean, it's gotta. How else can you influence stuff except for on a huge scale? I mean, you gotta money. You know, I mean, money's
Yeah.
got to be a part of it, right?
Yeah.
Influence, or that's kind of scary. You
Yeah.
know, I wonder if the time machine will show us. You think he?
Somebody needs to invent it. I need to go find somebody.
Yeah, I mean, if the movies are showing time machines like they are, and they've been showing that for a long time, then
Yeah.
it's a matter of time,
It's a
right?
matter of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Look, man, I appreciate you coming out and doing this. I always ask everybody the same question, and so I'll pose to you the question as well. If there was one group of people or an audience that you were best suited to give advice to, and I'll give you just an example. You know, and I've shared with you briefly. I've dealt with alcoholism in the past, and so if I were to give advice to a group of people, and I think I'm best suited to, I'd say, well, I'm very well suited to give advice to that group of people who are going through that right now. If you're best suited to give advice to a group of people, who would that group of people be?
I think people that are aspiring entrepreneurs.
Okay. I would agree wholeheartedly with that. What advice, if you had to, and you can't give them all the advice all at once right now, but what advice would you give to that group of people? What would you say to them?
The road to being successful is tough. You have to take it in stride and know that you're building something. It's going to take a while. You're in it for the long run, right?
Yeah.
So you just need to kind of stay the course and understand that you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. It's not going to change when you have some big business that you've built, right? But that's how it goes. So like if you're trying to be an entrepreneur to just make like $1 million in like a year and live this lavish lifestyle, this is not for you. It's not how it works.
It's not how you do it. It's not going to sustain
Slow
us.
and steady wins the race every time.
This always, and this really helped me when I was beginning. Well, it's on a much smaller scale. I mean, real estate, you know, is an entrepreneurial adventure as well. And what helped me when I first started out was like, you got to think of it like farming. You don't have a farmer who goes and plants crops and expects them to grow the next day.
Yeah.
Just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You got to water and you got to till the soil and you got to feed these plants. And then months pass and then they start to just now grow. And then eventually you'll reap the harvest, but it takes time.
Yeah, because you're driving the car. Your success is directly based on your motivation to get there.
However fast or slow it
Yeah.
goes is yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good piece of advice. I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but like you know where my beliefs lie. Do you mind if I say a prayer
Not at all.
thanking God for
Let's
this?
do it.
Okay, all right. Lord, thank you for Ravi. Thank you for the chance to sit here and have this conversation with him. Thank you for putting him on this planet and making him who he is. He's become a very bright light in a lot of people's lives. And the goodness in him and the kindness that he spreads and the person that he is, it's powerful, and I'm grateful for him. So thank you for that and for the opportunity to do this. Amen. Thanks for letting me do that.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. Is that weird? Like, doesn't feel weird to me.
Yeah, it's part of being in the South.
In the South?
South.
Is are we some religious folk down here?
More so than the northern people.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, good old Southern hospitality. I never really thought of Virginia as the South until you get people who aren't from Virginia saying it.
Yeah, you have to be familiar with the Mason-Dixon line to make that determination.
You do, you do, and we are south of the Mason-Dixon. I mean, technically, capital of the Confederacy, right?
Yep.
For better or for worse.
Right.
Can't change history. I'm gonna leave that one alone. All right, let's turn this off. Thank you. What'd you think? That wasn't too bad, was it?
No, it's good.
Yeah. How long do you think that was?
Probably 45 minutes,
That's what
maybe.
I'm guessing as well. Maybe a little bit longer. 1 hour and 6 minutes. Yeah, I'd say that's right on time.
Yeah, that was with
The dog. Yeah, that's true. I bet you she's clawing to get outside. Let me turn this on.